Hello and welcome to the next installment of Doctor Who, The Cancelled Years. This video will be a brief guide to seasons 50 to 52 of Doctor Who, the Damien Maloney era. The full more details post for each season can be found on our blogger website, link in the description. So, let's begin, starting with season 50. Episode 1 would be The Uprising by Toby Whithouse. This would be the introduction of the new companion, Heather Mackenzie, played by Kate Bracken. This is a traditional companion introduction story where we see the new Doctor meeting Heather for the first time in the cinema she works in, and works with her to defeat a cyborg named Mac-10 who's trying to take over the Earth using earpiece devices to brainwash people. The Doctor and Heather eventually destroy Mac-10 by blowing him and the cinema up, and we end the story with the Doctor inviting Heather on board the TARDIS. Episode 2 would be Space Mutiny by Sarah Dollard. This story sees the Doctor taking Heather to a colony ship in the future, which soon gets hijacked by space pirates named Deity. The story sees the Doctor and Heather working with the crew of the ship to fight off Deity and take back control, which they're eventually able to do. Episode 3 would be The First Step for Mankind by Toby Whithouse. The story sees the Doctor and Heather in 1969 to witness the moon landing, where they find an alien named Gilo from the future, attempting to sabotage the moon landing so that Earth's space history is altered forever. However, their plans end up being foiled by the Doctor. Episode 4 would be The Age of Machines by Toby Whithouse. This story sees the Doctor properly meeting Heather's parents, David and Chloe. We learn that David is a police officer and he invites Heather to a police event, where the head of police plans to unveil new robot police officers made by a company named Cobator. However, these robots turn hostile and attempt to kill everyone, which leads the Doctor to discover that they've been sabotaged by a rival tech company named Autotellum, who are attempting to make Cobator look bad so their stock market would crash, and Autotellum gains more customers. Eventually, however, the Doctor is able to stop the robots and shut down Autotellum for good. Episode 5 would be Planet of the Silurians by John Dorney. This would be a two-parter which sees humans crash landing on a Silurian inhabited planet in the far future. The Doctor comes to the humans' aid while also teaching the Silurians about Earth. This results in humans and Silurians attempting to form an alliance, which, after Heather and a Silurian named Leo Gorner attempt to stop an anti-Silurian movement from destroying the Silurian planet, is successfully formed and the two races agree to share their planets. Episode 6 would be Mummy on the Orient Express by Jamie Matheson. As you can guess, this is just our version of Mummy but in a different universe. Episode 7 would be Time Reaver by Jenny T. Colgan. This story sees the Doctor on a mechanical planet named Calibris, where he finds their dangerous time-altering weapon named the Time Reavers have been acquired by a gangster named Gully. However, the Doctor is eventually able to render the Time Reavers useless by exposing all of its energies to him. Episode 8 would be The Witch Trial by Pete McTeague. This story is a pure historical which sees Heather being accused of being a witch and being separated from the Doctor as she's taken away to be burnt alive. The story sees the Doctor hunting down and rescuing Heather, which he's eventually able to do. Episode 9 would be Kill the Moon by Peter Harness. This is just our version of Kill the Moon but with a few differences. Episode 10 would be War of the Sontarans by Toby Whithouse. This would be a two-parter which sees the Doctor taking Heather home, only to discover that the Sontarans have taken over the Earth. The story sees the Doctor working with Nicholas Lethbridge Stewart, the son of Alistair, as well as a bunch of new unit regulars, to defeat the Sontarans and take back control of the Earth, and eventually, after making an alliance with the Rutens, are successfully able to do so. Finally for season 50 we have the Christmas special, The Gift by Toby Whithouse. This story sees the Doctor and Heather finding themselves being forced to play dangerous Christmas-themed games created by the toy maker. Eventually, however, the Doctor and Heather are able to win the games and escape. Now for season 51, starting with Under the Lake by Toby Whithouse. This is the story Under the Lake and Before the Flood from our universe, but now as a two-part story. Episode 2 would be Technophobia by Matt Fitton. The story sees a group of aliens attempting to take over and enslave the population of Earth by using a machine to make humans fear technology. Eventually, however, the Doctor and Heather are able to reverse their effects onto the aliens and defeat them. Episode 3 would be The Sword of the Chevalier by Guy Adams. The story sees the Doctor and Heather meeting the Chevalier Dion and working with them to stop a group of Cometers, the slave trading race of aliens from season 46's The Human Market. Episode 4 would be Night of the Vashta Nerada by John Dorney. The story sees the Doctor and Heather on a planet-sized theme park helping a group of soldiers escape a deadly predator, which the Doctor eventually identifies as the Vashta Nerada from season 33's Forest of the Dead. They're eventually able to escape from the planet, but the story ends with everyone but the Doctor and Heather dead. Episode 5 would be Death and the Queen by James Goss. The story sees Heather falling in love with a prince named Rudolph from an unknown country named Gortinia, who chooses to run away with him and ends up agreeing to marry him. However, we eventually discover this to be a ploy, as we discover that Heather is actually to be sacrificed to an avatar disguised as Death in order to keep Gortonia free of war, plague and famine, as well as making the country invisible to everyone else. However, Heather ends up tricking Death into essentially destroying itself, which saves herself and also reveals Gortonia to the rest of the world again. Episode 6 would be Flatline by Jamie Matheson. This is just our version of Flatline, but in the cancelled years universe. Episode 7 would be A Green Future by Sarah Dallard. This story reintroduces Katie Manning as Jo Jones, as well as introducing their grandson John. We see the Doctor and Heather working with Jo and John to stop an alien invasion of sentient evil plants named the Grotus. At the end of the story, the Grotus are defeated and the Doctor offers to take Jo on a few trips in the TARDIS. Episode 8 would be The Eternity Planet by Pete McTeague. This story sees Jo's first adventure in the TARDIS. The trio arrive on the planet which is home to immortal humans, however the Doctor discovers that the humans are getting their immortality by stealing it from aliens buried underground. The story sees the Doctor attempting to free the aliens while exposing the elders of the planet for their unholy crimes, which he eventually succeeds in doing. Episode 9 would be Veritas by Peter Harness. The story sees the trio in 1966, where they discover a race of aliens known as the Medics, attempting to hijack the broadcasting of the FIFA final, which had around 32 million people watching, and intercut with footage of an alien film named Veritas, which causes all who watch it to die within 24 hours. However, the Doctor is able to defeat the Medics, as well as the broadcasting of Veritas. Episode 10 would be The Rise of Cybus by Toby Whithouse. The story sees the Doctor, Heather and Jo discovering a Cyberman invasion on Earth. However, everyone has been brainwashed by a perception filter to not suspect the Cybermen as dangerous. The story sees the trio working with UNIT to turn off this filter and stop the Cybermen from converting the population of Earth. The story sees Heather mostly working with a UNIT soldier named Florence, who Heather has known about for years, and sees the two of them admitting to having feelings for each other. The story ends with the Cybermen defeated, with Jo wishing to stop her travels for now, and Heather leaving the Doctor to join up with UNIT. Finally, for season 51 we have the Christmas special, The Ghost of Christmas Past, by Toby Whithouse. The story sees the Doctor on a mining base on an alien planet, where he finds a group of deadly ghosts disguised as the crew's relatives have infiltrated the base and are guilt-tripping the crew into not killing them, while they secretly begin working on sabotaging the base. However, the ghosts are eventually defeated by the Doctor and the crew once the Doctor has made them see the ghosts for what they really are. Now for season 52, starting with The Raven by Toby Whithouse. The story introduces the new companion, Felicity Wilson, played by Joanna Borgia, and sees her working with the Doctor to stop an alien hitman that can take the form of a raven from killing an alien in witness protection that's disguised as a human. In the end, the Raven is defeated and Felicity joins on as a companion. Episode 2 would be The Great Fire by Guy Adams. The story sees the Doctor taking Felicity to the near future, where they discover a creature made out of fire attempting to travel to the Earth's core and merge with it, thus burning the Earth. However, the Doctor is able to stop this and save the Earth from being cooked. Episode 3 would be Beneath the Ice by Sarah Dallard. This is just Thin Ice from our own history, however given how there's already a story named Thin Ice in the cancelled years, this story would have to be called something else. Episode 4 would be Oxygen by Jamie Matheson. This is just our version of Oxygen, however the Doctor is eventually able to cure his blindness in the end. Episode 5 would be We Are the Daleks by Jonathan Morris. The story sees the Daleks using humans to control Dalek drone ships in the future to fight their enemies by having the humans believe they're playing a video game named Warfleet. They also plan to transmit a Dalek perspective across London, which brainwashes people to adhere to the Dalek philosophy. Eventually, however, the Doctor is able to stop the bloodshed and defeat the Daleks. Episode 6 would be 1 Mile Down by Jenny T. Cogan. The story sees the Doctor and Felicity in an underwater city protected by a glass dome. However, the dome begins to crack. This story is more akin to a survival movie, with the Doctor working with the company behind the construction of the dome to save Felicity and the remaining survivors from drowning. The story also sees the return of the Jadoon, who first appeared in the pyramid back in Series 1, who end up being responsible for saving the humans in the end. Episode 7 would be How the Monk Got His Habit by Peter Harness. This is very much an origin story for the meddling monk, as we see him making Rasputin listen to the Ra Ra Rasputin song by Boney M. However, this causes Rasputin to go mad. However, the Doctor is able to correct history by forcing the monk to regenerate into the form of Rasputin and take his place in history. Episode 8 would be The Silent Scream by James Goss. The story sees actors in 1930s Hollywood losing their voices. We find that a man from the future named Julius is using time corridor technology to steal silent actors' voices and other parts of them in order to gain a heavy price for them in the future. However, the Doctor is able to stop Julius and return things back to normal. Episode 9 would be Fallen Angels by Phil Murrin. The story sees the Doctor and Felicity travelling to Rome in the year 1511, where they find a group of weeping angels to be on the loose. Eventually, however, the Doctor is able to trap the weeping angels and trap them below a chapel using mirrors. Episode 10 would be The Battle of Earth by Toby Whithouse. This is a sequel to Season 50's Planet of the Silurians, where we see the Earth 50 years on, where humans and Silurians now coexist. The story sees this piece beginning to collapse, as we later discover a man named Field Marshal Watson is attempting to kickstart a war between humans and Silurians by having the Silurian president assassinated and planting fake information on the humans. Watson's plans are foiled, however, when the Doctor, Felicity and the returning ally in the form of Ligonia are able to stop Watson from killing the Silurians and re-establishing peace. Finally, we end Season 52 and the Damien Maloney as a whole altogether with a 2016 Christmas special and the 2017 New Year's Day special, The Last Life by Toby Whithouse. The story sees the Doctor being stranded on a snowy planet where he begins to form a new life among the population of a nearby town, as well as falling in love with one of the local girls named Kirana. The TARDIS and Felicity eventually return for the Doctor, though only after 10 years, by which point the Doctor has announced he is retiring. However, these plans are shattered by Dalek invasion, who capture the Doctor and begin to extract his regeneration energy for their own needs. The Doctor is rescued by Kirana, but dies in the process. This sets the Doctor on a path of rage and revenge, as he ends up blowing up the Dalek ship with him on board. He's then rescued by Felicity in the TARDIS, where he sets the coordinates for Unit HQ and regenerates into his next incarnation, played by Gemma Redgrave. So there you have it, the entirety of the Damien Maloney area summarised in one video. Again, for a more detailed experience, I would recommend reading the blog post I made on Blogger, link in the description. I'll also have linked a second blogger which will be covering random what if scenarios in the Doctor Who universe, as well as a Discord server I made. Thank you for watching and goodbye.